We can kick off the recording. So, hi, folks. Good to have you all here again. Um, Monthly community call. This month, we're going to have a full project update. So, we're going to be starting with some announcements around Workstream Leadership, Global Summit, and a quick highlight overview of the challenges session that we had last month. And following that, we're going to have all the support teams and the technical committee chairs to present all of the work efforts that are taking place in our project. So to get started, um, we've got some new leadership in our midst. First of all, we would like to welcome back Peter Cooper, who's now representing Immersion. He's my colleague now with a temporary dual role. First of all, he's going to be leading the fluid specifications alongside Chris. And he's going to be temporarily co-leading the immersion requirements till the end of the year to help get the sorry, there's an incorrect statement in here. It should say 2026. To help get the new requirements across the bar. And then we have Peter Liu, who's also coming back as a co-lead. He used to be a co-lead in our midst before, and he's taking charge of the IT equipment design guidelines for immersion alongside Austin Hypes. And finally, we have Tina Bao from TE Connectivity, who is going to be replacing Terry Little and going to be co-leading the signal integrity work alongside Kai. So, first of all, I'd like to thank Terry Little for all his work. He's been able to help get the first paper across the bar and done some excellent work there. And as a side note, I also want to give a quick shout out. I don't know if he's here to Michael Sakamoto, who's been a very long-standing contributor in our midst. And I learned yesterday that he's retiring soon. So, Michael, if you're here, I'd like to really thank you for all of the contributions that you've done over the years, including the volunteer leadership role that you had. Um, and I'm hoping to see you again at in the industry after your retirement still. I hope that we're going to be interesting enough for you.
Thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun. I always say, doing anything in work, you've got to find a little fun doing it. And clearly, engagement at OCSP has been a lot of fun meeting new people. So I appreciate the time spent here in the collaboration. That was all positive in my view. And I'm gonna have to, turn the book page to a new chapter here. So I'm kind of looking forward to see what comes out of that. But thanks for the time and the positive collaboration that I encountered in the engagement with OCP.
All right. Well, all the gratitude is towards you, Michael. You've been of great help. So on to the Global Summit. Registrations were open. And the call for proposals is now closed since last night. Quick status updates. We've received a total of 950 plus submissions across the entire community. How many of those were for immersion? We have no idea yet because the foundation is going to need a lot of time to sift through all of them. But suffice to say, it's been nearly a 50% increase from 2025, where we were dealing with about 650 abstracts that were submitted. So we're gonna have a job cut out for us in terms of sifting through all of them and making sure that we can select them all. We can expect notifications to go out in July. That's going to be a month from now, and that is a time that we will need to really evaluate all the abstracts. The draft presentations are going to be due in August 24th. And for the rest, the existing cycle stays up. And we're really looking forward to a fantastic event in October this year in San Jose again. Now, on to the challenges debrief. Last month we had a challenges session, which was which was basically a gap mapping with the community that was dialing in. We have divided over 6 buckets: fluids, IT equipment, solutions, and reliability. That is in line with the technical committees that we have. We had 1 bucket for anything that crosses over all the buckets and 1 bucket for anything that remains. We've collected about 123 community inputs. There were about 18 recurring themes. 68% of the inputs on the gap side, with the largest quadrants, were high priority, and other buckets have filled almost entirely with facility integration. And that leads us to the following overview. One of the biggest concerns that exists here in the community is warranty. Maintenance and serviceability is a second. Standardized fluid test methodologies and narrower specs is something that requires some attention. Field reliability and failure data and deployment readiness are close followers. So what does it mean for our strategic direction? Well, first of all, that is something that we're going to be evaluating with the project board. The good news is that most of the concerns are well allocated within our current technical committees. We restructured the community 1.5 years ago, mainly with the focus on achieving warranty baselines following the warranty guidelines paper. So all of the work that we do is really catering towards achieving industry broad warranty. And we do have some steps in the pipeline that we had already put in place early last year. One of those is the solutions, the warranty reactivation. So we had a work stream that was put on hold pending reliability work in this community. So we're going to be evaluating whether this is a good time to revamp that, to reactivate that work effort, or whether there is more work that needs to be done through the reliability committee first. A lot of the items are already covered by the community. That also gives us a good insight in that we may need to do a better job at making sure that the industry is aware of some of our work efforts. And finally, all the items regarding the facility integration, that this is where we used to have an advanced cooling facilities work effort as a project within cooling environments that resulted in mostly in TCS loop specifications and has now converted into CDU. So we are now left with a gap which we're going to need to find a way to resolve. And that is obviously something that we'll be discussing with the project board. So these are the initial takeaways from our challenges session last month. Now, on to the rest of the projects. We're going to have the support teams, and we're going to be starting with the community outreach by Alison. Alison, you are muted.
Yes, I am. I'm so sorry. Thanks so much for the few minutes. Of course, community outreach is always thrilled to get a moment of your time with myself and Rachel. We are announcing, we've kind of already announced a wee bit of this, the Keeping It Liquid, the Forever Fluid Networking event. It will be on Wednesday, October 14th during the OCP Summit, 7:30, 10:30, you can see up there. Little pun, because this is a very large location. If you see in the picture, it's very reminiscent of a wedding venue. So we decided to be like tacky wedding. We're going to have a ice sculpture. So we're playing all into this Keeping It Liquid Forever Fluid networking event. So fun. Go on to the next slide if you would.
Is this the point where somebody needs to step up and say, well, ice is not a fluid?
Oh, well, no worries there. Well, but it will, if it melts, it is. But we've got some fun things planned. The great thing about this venue is it's very walkable, literally like 7-8 minutes from the summit. Scott's Seafood is, I'm sure you've eaten there before if you've been to OCP once or twice. We will have, of course, small bites catered by them. We can facilitate over 600 people, seeing how we almost had 400 people crammed in to our lovely location last year. We know that this is an extreme possibility. We have tiered sponsorships, again, silver, gold, and platinum. We already have several of each silver and gold signed up, and we have one platinum already. So we're really excited for that. You will receive, of course, we'll have the slideshow, signature drinks, and the social media marketing. So if you would like to sponsor, please reach out to me or Rachel, either one. Next slide. And Kelly and I will be finishing up the newsletter for Q2. It is essentially a recap of the OCP EMEA Summit event, some other great announcements that we will be highlighting in that. So watch for that to come across your email. If you haven't signed up for the email, feel free to do it, and make sure you have that, because this is going to be a real good one with links to all of the presentations for the immersion community. So that way you don't have to go search them out on the wiki page in the next 2 weeks. And then last but not least, we will be having during the SC 26 event in Chicago, we're going to have the Liquid Lounge event, kind of a speakeasy theme, and location is evolving currently. So if you would like to also sponsor that, the tiers will be similar to the ones you just saw for the summit too. So anyway, that is all I have to say. Thank you so much. We again had an amazing event at the OCP EMEA, and we really want to thank again our sponsors. It was phenomenal. I've said I'm not sure how we can outdo that one, but we're going to sure try. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Alison, for all that work. On to the industry liaison team. Kelly.
Thanks. I'm excited to share some updates that we have going on with our group. Just to recap, our team is responsible for driving the two-way communication between the standards groups and with OCP to help drive and accelerate adoption of liquid cooling. These are some of the groups we engage with: UL, ASTM, IEEE, ASHRAE, IEC, and some of the governmental bodies. Next page. We'll be providing some updates. So ASTM, they just had a really great meeting this past couple weeks ago, and there was some really good progress around the subcommittee of the D27 subcommittee, and also the standards that ASTM is going to be driving for testing for immersion fluids. ASHRAE, we're working, we have a meeting coming up at the end of this month, and that'll be the summer meeting, really focused on deployments and alignment of some of the standards is happening with cooling environment leads. And we also have a white paper that we kicked off around certification for AI factories, and we'll be putting together a framework for scaling AI factories from a standards lens and what will be needed for that. So that'll be happening within our work stream. So if you have interest in that and would like to participate, we'd love to have you come and provide your input. So just some more details around the ASTM update. And they're really, again, focused on developing the standards for dielectrics. And our team lead for OCP is also the chair of that, which is Griffin Burke. And it was a really great update with lots of interest in this space. And there's information about the ASTM there on the bottom there. Yeah, thank you. In terms of the more detailed ASHRAE update. Yeah, thank you. again, the summer meeting is coming up here in Austin, Texas, and so we'll be giving a report out from that meeting here in the next community call, and looking forward to continued collaboration with ASHRAE and some of the focused work that they're doing around CDUs. Next page. Thank you. This is just a bit more detail about the white paper that we're kicking off. We kicked off last month. This came out of the EMEA Summit, and we're going to have a focus around AI infrastructure and leveraging our technical committee within our group and the standards bodies that they represent. Next page. And we are looking for an IEC rep. Mariam has been holding the fort for the last few months, but we're really looking to engage somebody more deeply within the IEC community. So we'd love to, if you are engaged with IEC, we'd love to hear from you. We'll be putting out a formal request to the community so that we have a deeper engagement with IEC, and we'd like to deepen that moving forward. And if you're interested, you're welcome to join our team. You have Mariam and my contacting email at the bottom. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for all that work, Gary. Seems like you're progressing well. We're going to be moving on to Gemma.
Hi, Rolf.
Yeah,
Hi,
please
everyone.
go ahead.
So Alison's already gone through all the great work that her and the team did, and so's Kelly, and I'm sure you'll hear lots more from all the other workstream leads coming up. So just wanted to give a quick update on where I've been and who I've been speaking to and how we are working in the team. You can see a few pictures of me and some of the other immersion ladies, and that was in Cannes recently. Had a few very interesting conversations with various parties. And moving forward across the rest of the year, if you'd like to come and find me and talk about immersion or the immersion work streams, I will be definitely at DCD London in September, OCP Global in October, and Supercube and Pute in Chicago in November. Hosted a introduction to the immersion community call recently, had some new people in who are now going to become members of the wider community and the wider group. So very happy with that and very pleased, and want to keep getting more and more of you involved. Next slide, Rolf. So I suppose what I just want to say before I don't take an awful lot of time is please don't just sit and listen on these calls. Please do get involved. Some of the work streams do need support. They do need help. Don't be afraid to talk, to ask questions, to send questions to the work stream leads. Basically, don't be afraid to raise your voice and raise your hand. We're very much interested in everyone's engagement, in everyone's opinions, and in everyone's ideas. So feel free to either reach out to me if you've got any questions on how to get involved, or to any members of the workstream leads, and I'm sure we'd be more than happy to help you out. That's all.
All right, thank you very much, Gemma. And on to the technical committees. We're going to be starting with fluids. Chris.
Thank you, Rolf. So there are 4 active fluids work streams that are going on right now. The contacts, the leaders are listed on the slide. There's one note is that the fluid lifecycle management has an opening. If you're interested in being a co-lead, please contact Alex, Spencer, or myself. Next slide, please. For 3 of the work streams, we are actively working on the completion of white papers. For the fluid cleaning guidelines, you can contact Roma or Janasa if you're interested in participating, or you can join with the QR code on the next slide, please, Rolf. They are working on the completion of the fluid cleaning guidelines white paper. They are working now on completing the criteria for operational protocols, HSE concerns, and regulatory compliance. If you have skills in this area, please call in to the next workstream call and participate in the completion of this white paper. Next slide, please. Oxidation methodology. Spencer Kearns and Vanya Boyd are co-leads for this. They are working also on a white paper. Next slide, please. Their edits are underway. They expect to finish before the end of this year, but they're also working with Magdalenix on some studies to look at accelerated aging versus in-service fluid modifications. So fluid life cycle management, that's all right. Fluid life
Yeah,
cycle.
you were going so quick. I'm trying to follow you.
You had the beat. So fluid life cycle management. This is also in the final stages of a rewrite for, or the completion of the white paper around options for when a fluid is removed from service. So if you have an interest in participating with the completion of that white paper, do reach out to Alex. And if you're interested in working with him as a co-lead, also reach out to Alex. For fluid specifications, as Rolf mentioned, Peter is now my co-lead for this. We are meeting twice a month, the first and the fourth Wednesday of each month. On the next slide, please, Rolf. Before we get into writing fluid specifications, we are working on identifying the appropriate equivalent methods that can be used to generate the data that characterizes fit for purpose fluids for the immersion cooling. And this is in support of what Amy's doing on the update of the the requirements document. So there's a list of the methods we'll be discussing in the next couple of weeks or a couple meetings. If you have experience with these methods, if you have an interest in learning more about what other methods to generate this data, please do call in to the meetings. We're also working on a more effective way to collate this data and creating a living document that can be used for future considerations of why we are looking at a fluid property or what the limits were set for that fluid property. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris. All right. On to Austin.
All right. Ready to go. So as a reminder, ITE, we're focused on IT equipment and immersion. We currently have 3 active work streams, and I think for the first time ever, all 3 have a full complement of work stream leads. So Ralph did mention earlier, Peter has joined us in the ITE design guidelines, as well as Tina in signal integrity. But so Peter and myself head up the ITE design guidelines. We do also have Andy and Florin doing our advanced cooling techniques, and then Kai and Tina for signal integrity. I see days and times of our various different calls there. Next slide, please. So a reminder for ITE design guidelines. We are in the middle of a major update. Since there hadn't been a major one since 2020, and quite a few things have changed. So we are always looking for participation in here, particularly now if you do anything with IT equipment and immersion. If you're on the system side, if you're on the deployment side, if you have any experience testing, we're really getting deep into the test criteria and are looking for any additional folks who can join there. Next slide, please. We are also adding a new project, and Peter is going to be very helpful with this on component validation specifically for ITE. So this isn't around material compatibility or anything about that. This is around how could individual components be tested and shown to be good in immersion without necessarily having to put them in a complete system. So we are kicking off a new project, starting with immersion cable specifications. So this will complement the rest of the ITE design guidelines, focused more at the system and starting to get very much into component validation. And we will have different components to follow, once we get the immersion cable specification pushed down the road a little bit. So if these are areas where you have interest or knowledge for any type of component in immersion testing, we do encourage you to join the work stream on our monthly calls.
Hey, Austin, just
Yeah.
for the sake of the community, would you mind just explaining to the community how this is different, how this is something else than the component compatibility work that is happening under Samantha and reliability?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So reliability is really focused more on the material reliability. So what effects do those components have, on the fluid itself, and what are the fluid effects, on those components? This is the more functional test. So this will be things like the signal integrity and performance and thermal characteristics of the individual components. So as we start here, for example, with immersion cables, this work stream is not focused on do the immersion cables have bad reactions in the fluid from a material compatibility, but this is more of a what are the bit error rates? What are the different signaling technologies are utilized? How far can they go? So we leave the material compatibility to the other work streams. This is the functional specification, which is becoming more and more important with the higher frequencies of things like, PCI Express Gen 5 going to Gen 6. We have, 800 gigabit technologies now for Ethernet InfiniBand going to 1.6 terabit. So there's a lot of questions around, hey, as these new components come out, especially these higher performance components, how do we make sure they are operating correctly in immersion beyond just their material compatibilities?
All right, thank you, Lawson.
Yeah, no problem. So back to the IT design guidelines, we are very deep into section 4 of the 5 sections of the design guidelines, and this is really focused on validation and testing of IT equipment. So this would be the platform as a whole, such as a server being the most common example. So as mentioned, anyone with experience testing IT equipment in immersion, we very much like your feedback as we try and wrap up section 4 and then go into section 5. Section 5 will be best practices and guidelines. So some quick updates on advanced cooling techniques. And advanced cooling techniques is really focused on cooling of high performance silicon, in immersion. So things greater than 500 watts. So we still have the reference design for targeted flow heat sinks originally published by Intel out there. And we are very much, if we can go to the next slide, getting deep into the thermal test performance test specification. So we are actually authoring has begun on the specification, which is broken into 5 sections with volunteers on each section looking for feedback, starting with hardware so what's the actual test hardware required, instrumentation, componentry, and then of course controls, protocols, and test matrix, and finally benchmarking. So these really center around the thermal solutions themselves, so i.e. heat sinks, thermal interface materials, which are an important part, and of course the performance of the fluid. So if these are areas where you have knowledge or expertise, we would very much like you to join the advanced cooling techniques. Really not too much on thermal interface material now, so folks with experience there would be extremely welcome. Next slide, please. So for signal integrity, we'll talk about in just a minute, but we did recently release a white paper, a very comprehensive white paper, and at the EMEA Summit, Tina did a nice overview of that, which you can find online. So really where we're moving with signal integrity right now is a focus beyond 32 gigahertz. So we have a lot of test data and a lot of industry data and a lot of examples of things kind of going up to the mid 20 gigahertz, which has been common for high-speed signaling to date. But there's not a lot of industry knowledge and testing beyond 32 gigahertz. And with some of the newer high-speed interfaces coming to market now or in the very near future, that's really going to be our next focus area. So next slide, please. We'll answer Rick's question right here, link to the white paper release, both with the QR code and the direct web interface link. All right, so that being said, we do encourage everyone to get involved. If you have links to the web, or excuse me, email list for on the QR codes for each of the work streams. Once again, I'd like to thank Peter for joining as a work stream lead, as well as all the support from Terry Little, getting the signal integrity white paper to completion, and of course Tina joining us as a new work stream lead in signal integrity. Thank you.
All right. My PowerPoint is stuck. Yeah, there we go. Reliability. Thank you very much, Austin, for the great work you're doing, as well as all your workstream leads. On to Samantha.
Well, thank you. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the exciting things that are happening in the reliability committee at this point in time, led by both Brian and I. Material compatibility. This is, again, one of our earlier papers. It is going through a major revision right now. There is a lot of work going into how do we optimize, how do we improve, how do we make the paper more useful, more guidance, and more applicable across the wide variety of fluids that we do have in the ecosystem. So this effort is really critical for us as a foundational effort to understand and how to measure and assess material compatibility of bulk materials. If you are a chemist, if you are a material vendor, if you have any expertise in this area, then I would definitely ask that you get involved in this paper. It is not a light edit. This is going to be a major edit, but I'm really excited to see how this paper is developing and the additions and the improvements that this team is making. Next. Component compatibility. This is our most exciting news. We published the white paper, and I want to give Bo and Brian and this entire community of this work stream committee of component compatibility. They have put an incredible amount of effort, but this paper is published. So I really encourage the community to take a look at it. This is the first time we've taken the combination of a functional component and tried to assess, do we see component and performance degradation as an impact on the fluid and its impact on the materials and the properties itself. And I want to say that this is one of these reasons why this is another critical area in addition to the reliability where you see the cross collaboration across the different work streams. So the effort that Austin's team is taking on the new initiatives on component performance and trying to measure component performance, that comes in here. Because right now, the way that these white papers, or this paper and the reliability are assessed is you need to measure T0 performance. And we have to, at this point in time, lean into the component vendors. So we're really excited on what the work in the IT community is going to be producing on how to create specific standards and recommendations on measuring component performance in these immersion fluids, because we will be leveraging that in the reliability community to use that to understand how the performance degrades as a function of these tests. So I wanted to actually bring that up because that's how you see this project board work together. Next turn. So the next step that the component compatibility team is doing is one of the biggest gaps that has been stated in the open feedback that we recently had is data. So one of the things that the component compatibility team is looking at as an effort is how to aggregate some of the data, share data, and try to create a database of components and which fluids they've been tested in. That process is in flight. We're looking at options and looking at what ways are best to organize this, but we really do want to help the community by trying to aggregate some of this data. Of course, this is definitely a team effort. Companies need to actually contribute data that they have for this initiative to work, but what we want to do is create a database or a process for different component suppliers to submit their data so that we can share and that we can learn from each other. In the Thermochemical Reliability Committee, we are currently right in the middle of this white paper. And I think if you guys recall in the last couple updates, we took a big scope on this because of the need from the community, specifically around how do you test for reliability, which then goes into that business process of warranty. We took on the whole scope. So we're doing it at the component, the server, and at the rack scale. So that's a huge effort. So I have a dedicated team. We're meeting twice a month. We're writing sections by the day. This is going to be an incredible paper, but it really will be delivered at the speed at which our volunteers can actually contribute on this incredible scope. So what I do want, and I'd like to ask is, if you are interested in making this effort go faster, if you have any expertise in components, testing components, or any reliability, please come see what we're doing. I'm incredibly excited about this white paper. It's huge, and I think it's something that the community is really needs so that they can get a solid data set to go into some of those warranty risk assessments. Next slide. So again, all work streams have very much have active efforts going on. We all meet. There's also another meeting where we meet every month as a full team. I try to keep that very topic specific or topics that are of value for the entire reliability community. Please, if anybody is interested in presenting on a very specific reliability topic, I'm always looking for people to come in and have a deep dive, very nerdy, very focus times on specific thermochemical reliability and material compatibility topics. So please, if you're interested, reach out. QR codes are on the slides. And I want to thank all of my work stream leads for all of the work that they do to keep this work on track and in progress.
Well, I can only echo that. Thank you so much for all the effort. On to the Solutions Committee. Amy.
Hi, everyone. I'm here to give a quick update on all the activities going on in the Solutions Committee. So thanks up front to my co-leads, Kevin and Andy. The other work stream leads are listed on this slide as well. So Solutions is a really interesting technical committee. It combines a variety of different topics that really delve into, okay, now you understand on a per component level how to design and optimize different pieces of equipment, the compatibility associated with them. Now, how do you put it all together? So the work streams really are focused on things like FMEA or failure mode effect analysis, understanding the safety case for the equipment in use and operation, understanding what does it mean to have normal operation or abnormal operation, and what kind of safeguards can you put in place. Hardware management, how interoperable are all of the components and systems in your data center? This ties back into what Kelly was talking about, which is establishing standards for the AI factory. So at the facility level, how do you make all of these components come together and operate most effectively? Immersion requirements, which is really establishing foundational guidance and foundational requirements for the characteristics of the components that go into your data center. Power distribution, pretty self-explanatory, but it's really how do you introduce new types of IT equipment into the immersion system and ensure functionality and safety? And the last is TCO, or total cost of ownership. And that group really is trying to bridge the gap between the technology and the business. In order to implement immersion, it can't just be a science experiment. You have to be able to rationalize, why is it worth employing immersion cooling to actually cool your IT equipment? And the TCO model is really designed in order to help businesses to justify with their particular set of conditions at their facility, whether it makes sense or not to employ liquid as a whole. And it's not focused just on immersion. It actually also incorporates aspects of the model and costs into the model for other forms of liquid cooling as well. So Rolf, if you go forward, we'll just talk through each of them individually. The immersion requirements workstream, I am now joined by a co-lead, Peter Cooper, who I'm so excited to welcome back to the team. In this group, what we're doing is we're establishing and maintaining community-driven minimum requirements. We already have an existing document, immersion requirements document, and what we're doing right now is we're working to overhaul that document. The reason why it matters is because technology evolves. We need to make sure that our guidance evolves alongside with that technology, as well as our understanding of the technology requirements. The ultimate goal here is to allow safe and functional operation of equipment. And then from an OCP lens, it also enables paths to vendor self-qualification and for vendors who are creating products in this space to post those products in the OCP marketplace. So what we're doing right now is we're working through the different sections of the OCP immersion requirements document. There are different types of SMEs that are involved in different sections. The definitions is completed, and sections 2 and 3 are primarily focused, and this is being done in collaboration with the fluids group that Chris and Spencer and Peter are working on. And 4 is really focused on equipment safeguards. So that's much more on the actual system level design where those experts are getting involved. We are seeing, if you go back one slide, Rolf, we are seeing that there is a gap where we could use a lot more feedback, and that's especially as it relates to tank systems and monitoring. So if that is an area where your company has SMEs or somebody that is interested in collaborating more, let me know, reach out, and we'd love to hear your feedback on the document. In the FMEA group, Khaled and Nick are actually working here to identify and prioritize the failure modes associated with products and processes. So really what this is we're trying to be as proactive as a community as possible, learning from things that we've seen in the field, learning from risks that we know are there. Maybe we haven't seen them, or maybe we haven't heard of those examples actually occurring, but discussing as a group which of those scenarios are most important to prioritize from a design perspective for safeguards and risk mitigation. The idea here is to continue to improve safety, reliability, and compliance, and really helping to prioritize the list of which failure modes are most critical to prioritize. In some cases where failure mode is unlikely to occur or the resulting impact is incredibly minimal, it's really important to communicate that as well. In some cases, establishing safeguards in those areas might lead to incredibly high increases in costs. So really just balancing the guidance that we're providing to the community. Right now in that group, if you go to the next slide, Rolf, there are a couple of key activities that have been completed: establishing scopes, establishing scoring system, and really focusing on the methodology, making sure that we have good alignment with the methodology we're using so the output is meaningful. The ongoing work is the work stream. The work stream is actually reviewing the existing work and assigning analytical numbers to the FMEA ignition work. In parallel, there was a review to incorporate existing fault tree analysis work into that FMEA, which allows us to do bottom-up failure analysis review. The team is asking for additional feedback from system integrators and designers, along with subcomponent specialists. What this will allow us to do is to understand more on a per component basis from those experts what safeguards are actually in place, what risks are real or actually maybe are either overestimated or underestimated in our analysis. So if that's something that you're interested in participating in, please do reach out to Nick and Khaled. In the power distribution group, Kevin and Oriel are working to actually move forward from the publication that recently came out related to power distribution and single phase enclosure. That base spec allows everyone to implement ORV3 computational IT hardware within immersion environments. Right now, there aren't a lot of guidance or standards associated with servers or other IT equipment for the immersion setting. On the server side, that really is scoped into Austin's group. Austin already talked through some of those work streams. This one in particular is focused on additional equipment like power distribution. The big update from this group, Rolf, if you go to the next slide, is that the group was able to actually publish and present the base spec for power distribution at the recent EMEA Summit. I'd encourage everyone to scan this QR code to take a look at this base spec. It's a really incredible amount of effort that went into this from a variety of different participants across the industry. The output here really tried to create a general guidance framework for how to create and deploy this type of equipment without being too prescriptive, to allow individual companies to be able to adapt their own technologies for this environment while ensuring safe operation. It's a really incredible effort, a really incredible piece of work. So congratulations to Kevin and Oriel. And here's a QR code again. So please go ahead and scan it. Take a look at that document, and please join the Power Requirements upcoming sessions as they start to talk through what's next for the group. In hardware management, Mick is really trying to take a holistic look at the entirety of the system to consider multiple cooling environments and approaches. So that means air, direct-to-chip, and immersion, and also to incorporate a variety of technologies like CDUs, rear door heat exchangers, applications like heat reuse. And with those things, to define some type of unified schema under Redfish to manage all of the environment itself. This is a really complicated task and undertaking, but it's something that's incredibly important to be able to have as an OCP standard. In this effort, part of what Mick is focused on doing is creating a mock-up and also extending interoperability profiles. Overall, it's really intended to ensure alignment with the open standards that OCP supports elsewhere within the community and adapting it for the liquid-cooled environment. You can see here the work that's been completed by Mick and the group and the ongoing work. I really want to highlight that ongoing is quite a bit of immersion relevant mock-up and profile creation. So tank baseline and tank interoperability, as well as DLC. So right now, his work is really, really focused in the area that I think most of you are most useful in terms of contributing and also benefiting from. So I would suggest if you haven't joined one of Mick's calls recently, please do so, because right now is the most relevant time for your feedback to be actually used and implemented. And last, I want to highlight the work of the TCO group by Andy and Eddie. Their goal here is to build a total cost of ownership model that incorporates industry source product and cost data. They wanted to make sure that it can be applied across multiple deployment types and cooling environments. The reason for that is to try to make it as valuable as possible to people that are contemplating a build of a new facility and they aren't sure exactly what type of environment makes the most sense for them. Some of the completed work here, the V1.3 tool development has actually completed. The document is ready for release. The financial model has been updated and the output reporting has also been updated. An ongoing effort within this group is to actually update the user engagement assets. The spreadsheet itself has quite a few options. There is a guide that goes along with it that is very helpful. But the group is actually recognizing that in order to bring the most value, it's really going to require us to have some how-to guides to give people an easy way to jump into the model to understand what levers can be pulled to fine-tune and make the tool itself the most useful. There are also updates ongoing to the technical reference document, the cooling equipment library, and there is a gap here that they mentioned they have not yet started, is focused on the power equipment library. So looking at DC power assets. And that's going to be actually a very, very large initiative within this group to be able to expand and follow along with the technology roadmap we're seeing elsewhere in the industry. So just to sum up, some help needed. There are a lot of opportunities to contribute here. If you're a fluids person in the requirements work stream, we'd love to hear your feedback on minimum requirements as well as mandatory reportables in terms of properties themselves. If you're an equipment person, there's a whole subsection there for you to review as well. Within power distribution, please join. We're going to be refreshing the scope of work in the next couple of months in order to continue progressing this initiative after the publication of the base spec. Hardware management, man, now is the time to get involved. If you're interested in interoperability, immersion is on the docket. So please go ahead and reach out to Mick there, see how you can contribute, join the calls. And TCO workstream, the best thing that you can do is actually either start contributing in these two line items, the L2A and the L2L cooling, as well as AC and DC LV power, but also go into the marketplace, download that tool, try it out for yourself, and give Andy and Eddie feedback on your experience with that tool. The more input that we can have from across the organization on whether the values are accurate, whether the tool itself is useful, if there are additional features that should be built out, that'll help make the tool better long term. So thank you, everyone.
Right. Thank you so much, Amy and team. To wrap up today, because we're finishing up a little bit earlier than usual, we do have a couple of extra minutes, and I would really love to invite everyone to speak up about how you feel about these update calls. Is there any content that you would like that you're missing from us? Is there a specific area of focus that you would like us to include in these updates? But also the external content calls, which are at alternating months. Whether that content is aligned with your expectations or whether you would like to see other things that we'd like to focus on. And please feel free to open up your mics because we would love to get your feedback. And not all at once, please. Or if you just want to, yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Is sufficient attention being paid to the chassis-based immersion technology? There's a lot of focus on tanks, but what about the rack-based systems?
Yeah, that's a great
There's
question.
At least two
So
of us in
general,
are working on this project.
Totally agree with that. In general, we try to make sure that in every workpiece we acknowledge all versions of immersion cooling. We do not have chassis-specific work streams because we're trying to stay agnostic. Amy, you seem to want to respond to this, so please feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Herb, for raising your hand there. I think what we, as Rolf mentioned, we try to be as agnostic as possible to the actual way of implementing this form of cooling. But I also want to note that if you see an area that's underrepresented in the documentation, where my mind goes is the requirements document specifically. The reason for that is often because we don't have enough participation from experts related to that technology area. So the best way that you can see that impact and that scope actually occurring is by contributing into the work stream itself and providing your feedback into what works, what doesn't work, and where the requirements can best support different forms of cooling. So open invitation, if you feel like there's a technology that's unrepresented or underrepresented, reach out to the workstream lead and see how you might be able to contribute.
Thank you.
Yeah, and in addition, Herb, if there is a specific challenge that you feel that chassis-based immersion is particularly well catering to, something that might be challenging for other forms of implementation of immersion cooling, please bring it up, and we can always consider a work stream proposal that sits under one of the technical committees. Where you can work with a cross section of the community on advancing that particular topic.
Thank you.
So we will be receiving that with open arms. Anyone else? Are you guys all happy with the debriefs that we're providing every month? I know this is a tough thing to ask to a large cross section of the community.
I think it's great that you guys have gotten some of these PDFs all hammered out, man. That's real exciting.
Right, I see a lot of thumbs up and hearts floating on my screen. So I guess that's also a good way of providing the feedback. Okay. Well, we'll just take that as confirmation that what we're doing is aligned with what you feel is needed. And that means that we can wrap up today's call. That means you all get about 1.5 minutes back of your time. So it doesn't happen too often that we're wrapping up before the end of the time slot. So we can keep the call open a few more minutes in case anybody wants to have some off-the-record questions. But for now, I'll at least stop the recording and officially end the call. Thank you very much and hope to see you next month.